Part 3, Understanding the Scope and Winning. My name is Ruth Jordan. I'm the manager of the City of Charleston's Women and Minority-Owned Business. Tonight, as your moderator, we have two great presenters. Your tech support is going to be Brian Gruber, as well as Christina Ott, all of Charleston, the City of Charleston's Business and Neighborhood Services. And our presenters are going to be Mr. Nathaniel Spells Sr. and Mr. Nathaniel Spells Jr., all of Construction Dynamic Construction, Inc. And we are excited to have them with us on tonight. Brian, just a few housekeeping. This presentation will be made available. Your as participants, your video and audio is off. However, if you have questions, please use the Q&A box, and we will be answering questions throughout this presentation, and then most certainly at the very end. And so again, the presentation is being recorded and it will be made available as a few housekeeping rules. Understanding and winning the contract. This series started back on September 8th. We started with why be certified? And then on last Wednesday, we had Federal Contracting 101. And tonight we have Understanding the Scope and Winning the Contract. And then our final webinar is going to be next Wednesday. And that's going to be, I got the contract, now what? And here with the City of Charleston, our goal is to help grow and scale businesses. And tonight, in order to help grow and scale your business, you need to know how to win contracts, how to bid on contracts. And we have two great presenters on tonight. But before we get started, we wanted to let you know that all those who have participated with at least 3 of the 4 series, you will be receiving a certificate of completion on how to win the contract. It's going to be this beautiful certificate with your name, your company's name on it, and with the date of the award. And those who will participate or have participated at least 3 of the 4 webinars that we presented. And then at the end of this presentation, I will be also providing you with a list of upcoming opportunities that the city has listed and ready for your bids to be received. Our presenters tonight, I am so excited to have 2 of the most powerful people in the business of construction. And so tonight we felt that we needed to have people who are doing this, who have done it from the beginning to where they are. I'd like to introduce our panelists on today. Our first panelist, and they're going to be doing a tag team, is Mr. Nathaniel Spells Sr. Mr. Nathaniel Spells Sr. is the first African-American graduate who graduated from Clemson University with a degree in business and building sciences and management in the School of Architecture. After graduation, he worked for GE in New York, managing construction projects in the plastic division. He also continued his education at the University of Evansville, Indiana State University, and Dartmouth School of Business. After working with a number of outstanding construction firms, he pursued his dreams of entrepreneurship by establishing Construction Dynamic Inc. in 1987. Since its inception, CDI has grown to become a respected company within the construction industry. The firm is licensed in South and North Carolina. CDI offers construction services for educational, institutional, and commercial projects. CDI has been blessed to construct several projects throughout the state of South Carolina, such as Benedict College Football Stadium, Benedict College Business Development Center, Brooklyn Baptist Church, and that's just to name a few, not to include all the wonderful projects that they've worked on here in the Low Country. Mr. Spells is active within the community and has contributed to numerous boards and organizations. He's a member of the NAACP, the American Institute of Contractors, the Construction Management Association of America, and the South Carolina Black Contractors Association. The company is a proud recipient of many awards, including the BPT Trailblazer Award and the City of Columbia Visionary Service Award. Mr. Spells is passionate about his role with business ownership and understanding how it's important as it plays in the empowerment of people, and he devotes a considerable amount of his time encouraging African Americans to become entrepreneurs, teaching construction business principles, and educating the community on the importance of their businesses. Our second presenter, and I call it a tag team, is Mr. Nathaniel Spells Jr. Nathaniel Spells Jr. attended West Virginia State University. Upon graduation from college, he went on to work in his family business, Construction Dynamic Inc., one of the largest African-American general-owned contracting and construction management firm of its type in the entire Southeast. Spells Jr. currently serves as a pre-construction business development manager and helps oversee the day-to-day operations of the company. Mr. Spells Jr. shares his father's passion for seeing minority-owned businesses succeed and has participated or conducted numerous seminars about business growth and strategies. Mr. Spells serves on the following boards. He serves on the George Rogers Foundation, Boy Scouts of America Indian Water Council, and is chairman of the South Carolina Economic Summit for the South Carolina State NAACP. He's also a member of Omega Psi Phi fraternity. He resides in Columbia, South Carolina, and is married to his best friend, Laura Spells, and they have two wonderful, beautiful children, Nathaniel Spells III and Caitlin. I'd like to introduce to some and present to others. I like to call them the father and son team, Mr. Junior Nathaniel Spells Jr. and Mr. Senior Nathaniel Spells Sr. Take it away, guys.
It's good to see you, Ms. Jordan. We appreciate you putting on this event this evening. I told Nathan I'm gonna let Nathan and I may chime in.
Okay.
So I'm on the way. Okay,
Thank
go
you.
ahead, Nathan. Need to unmute.
Yeah. Can you see? Okay. Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Jordan. I like to call Auntie Jordan for that introduction. I want to first recommend before we get started. Hold on. Let me get the share screen. Go and make sure everyone can see. All right. Share. Okay. Can everyone see the screen? How to win contracts?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Good. Okay. Yes, this is truly an honor. Like you mentioned, her name is Nathaniel Spells Jr. And so you have Nathaniel Spells Sr. So I tell people when this is a rare occasion, you're getting the Apple and the tree in the same building. So we're really excited about this opportunity. We are passionate about seeing especially small local minority business succeeding, because that's what it's about. It's about succeeding. It's about winning. And so when she asked us to come to do this, of course, without one doubt, she asked we do it because this is a passion. It's about giving back and it's about helping others as well. So I'm really, really excited to talk about how to win contracts and understanding the scope. In reality, you can kind of flip it either way, because in order to win a contract, you got to understand the scope. And that's what we're going to talk about, how to win contracts from government, also outside of government. And so this is going to be what we like to call a family discussion. So you have questions, please put them in the chat box and we'll go along and try to answer them accordingly. So further ado, let's talk about how to win contracts and understanding the scope. Let me click on that. Okay, Ms. Jordan did a very outstanding job of talking about our company, but just a snapshot once again of who we are. The company was founded by my father in 1987, as she mentioned, out of Columbia, South Carolina. We're headquartered. We are construction manager. See where you're more of an extension of an owner's rep. And then we have construction management, general contracting, where we're responsible for actually building the facilities. We've been blessed to build facilities throughout this state. And like she mentioned, in the Low Country, if you've been on North Charleston, Royal Missionary Baptist Church, everything on that campus, we've been blessed to be responsible for. Currently, we're doing an addition of a Hot Gap Middle School on Johns Island, and continue to do work with Charleston County Schools. And we've done work at Joint Base Charleston, so we understand government work particularly. We've done a lot of work for local jurisdictions and cities. So that's just a little bit about us. And also, I just want to point out a few key personnel. I have Nathaniel Spells Sr, founder, president, CEO, myself, pre-construction, business development. Basically, my job is to get the job to construction. Then I handle the baton on to the gentleman to my right, David S. Myers, who's responsible for the day-to-day and getting the jobs with our superintendents, suppliers, and making sure those jobs get completed. And also, if you want to know more information about our company, please visit www.cdi-sc.com to learn more about our company. All right, winning. I hope everybody that's on this call likes to win on the seminar, because if you do not like to win, you're not going to have a lot of friends. You want to win. You want people to win. You want to succeed. You want to be successful. So what's the definition of winning? It's gaining, resulting in, or relating to victory in a contest or a competition. You're competing against other folks. You want to win. So how do you win? Especially when you kind of get government contracts or be successful in your business. I'm a former athlete, scholarship. I got to play football. Long story short, I got a scholarship. My dad said, "You're paying for the education, you're going there." That was the end of the story. So, but that is the type of what it is. I love sports. And of course, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, one of the greats, he says, he had a quote that says, "I try to do the right thing at the right time. They may just be little things, but usually they make the difference between winning and losing. They may just be little things, but usually they make the difference between winning and losing. Usually it's the little things in business and in life you do right. Sometimes that's the difference between you winning a project, losing a project, staying in business, and going out of business. And sometimes it's those little things. So please, winning, pay attention. And we're going to talk about some of the things to look for in order to win contract. And it's usually those little things. Okay, like I said, I'm a sports fanatic. And so I've got a bunch of people up here, up to the left here. I call them the GOAT. People, how they say it online, don't at me. Michael Jordan's the GOAT of basketball. Okay. You have Michael Jordan with his 6 rings. Then you have LeBron James. You have Peyton Manning, the Sheriff, Hall of Famer, Tom Brady. All these folks are great and excellent. What is the common denominator among all of them? Why are they're all winners? They won championships. But what they all have in common? I'm a fanatic for sports. I love studying, seeing what they do. The Last Dance. I don't know if you want to watch that with Michael Jordan. You saw how obsessed he was with winning. I mean, he loved winning. But what separated them from the others? They're great at preparing to win. They spent numerous hours. They said Tom Brady spends an average of 40 hours a week studying film of one opponent because he wants to get that advantage. You need to study. You need to study and prepare. They all study their opponents and train accordingly. I'm sorry, LeBron James knows if Miami Heat are coming to town during the NBA season, he's not training. He's already looking at film and getting ready so he can get the advantage. So so how does this apply to winning government contracts? You must study and prepare. So when you must read requirements for the project and contract. So when there's usually a couple ways, I'm just going to identify 3. One, usually when it's government, it's a request for proposal called a RFP, request for proposal, request for qualifications, RFQ, or lump sum bid, and there's other forms, but we're just going to focus around these 3, usually when there is a government out. Usually it's a request for proposal, lump sum bid, or RFQ, and I will go into better detail about that. Okay, like I said, you must be studying, prepare, and continue. Anytime, I'm giving you some of our strategy. Anytime we go after any project, When an RFQ comes out, and I'll show you an example here shortly, when an RFQ and an RFP comes out, or pursuing a project, we always ask ourselves, anytime CDI or your firm put it in there, pursues a project / contract, I want to make sure this, can everyone hear me? Okay, all right, good. You should always ask the following questions. One of the biggest things in business or being in business is what? Is risk management, risk. Anytime you go into business, although the purpose of a business is what? To fill a void or a need. There's a need, and if you make that need, that's a service, offer service is to fill that need or that void. So where's the risk in the project? So when you're looking at this thing, what are the risks? 2, do we have a history with these types of projects? So when they're asking specifically, do you have history? 3, who is your competition? You got to know, like I said, I mentioned those sports before. When we're going after a job, you need to know who your competition is. And I'll show you, well, Nate, how do you find that out? And I'll show you, particularly if there's RFQ, RFPs, or even bids, I'll show you how you find out who your competition is. And do you have the staff to handle the project? So 2 and 4 goes hand in hand, and I'll go in greater detail how that all plays out. Okay. All right, this is an Rfq Rfp example. This is a project that's fresh. That's why I showed it. I just actually was involved. We're being involved in pursuing this project. It's University of South Carolina. It's a public job, and it's for a new University of South Carolina Health Science campus project. In this case, you see request for qualifications, RFQ. A RFQ basically is asking, or when you're getting this, they want to know the owner, City of Charleston, Fort Jackson, government, they want to know, in this case, are you qualified to do what we're asking you to do? Are you qualified? And so when you get an RFQ like this one, one of the first things we do is that we look at the table of contents. So it could be if it's for government, it could be for construction, if it's for being, if you're having a beauty supply, if you do hair, if you're trying to supply something, because there's requests for supplies to the government. They need so much hand sanitizer. If you're in that business, they need janitorial services. In the RFP or RFQ, pay attention to the table of contents. And it goes, it's like a book. It kind of tells you everything that's going to be ahead to read. And there's all kind of items, and I highlighted down section 5, which is an RFQ procedure and response, because that in particular really is telling you what we want to see from you. What are you qualified? Show us. And I'll go into better detail on this job. In this case, it's like I said here, it's showing an overall overview of what the project is going to be about. This is almost 300,000 square foot building that's going to be on Bull Street development, which I'll talk a little bit later. And the project tag, if you see, I didn't highlight, the price tag for this thing is $300+ million. So you best believe there's a lot of people don't want to go after this job because there's not too many $300 million jobs going around. But, and as I mentioned before, there's a selection process. How are you qualified? So there's, in this case, there's 3 parts to potentially winning this contract. First part is the RFQ part. I mentioned request for qualifications, and I'll show you some of the stuff they want to see there. You got to pay attention in reading RFQ. And then based on the RFQ, say in this case, there might be 40 people submitting a proposal to get the contract. They're going to narrow it down to 3 firms. And out of those 3 firms, they want you to then turn in an RFP. So you go from an RFQ showing that you're qualified down to an RFP, which is a request for proposal. And that is a little bit more detailed. I could say RFQ shows you're qualified. And so they say, okay, CDI, whatever, y'all clearly are qualified to handle this type of project. Now we want you to go in further detail and talk about how you're going to do the project. And that's where the request for proposal is a little more general, a little more detailed of the things that you need to do so they can kind of get an idea, okay, I see they really have a grasp on what we're trying to accomplish. And then the last stage in this stage is usually evaluation process and negotiations. So then based off the 3 after that state, then you talk about pricing and get with that person to work out the price to do the project. And then it proceeds on to the next phases after that with who they want to work with, whoever wants the contract. A lot of cases when you see an RFP, especially from construction, there's a thing they'll talk about to show the pay attention RFP, the area. If you're doing certain things or about specifically when it deals with logistics, so where things are coming and going and how it's placed, pay attention. Know your area, go study it. Get a head up on the context, like study, see the site, see how it's laid out. Luckily, we've done some work on that site, so we're very familiar with that area. We built a part team that did a baseball stadium, so we're very familiar with the area. Okay, RFQ examples. Just continue. This is design objectives. It goes on, but like I say, reading about RFP is telling you about some of the design. In this case, this project is a design build / private public finance project. What that means is the general contractor on this project is responsible for working with the architect to design it, then build this $300 million facility, along with working with a developer to help finance it from the University of South Carolina and a developer. So there's a lot of wheels on this project and there's a lot of team members. So with that being said, one of the things that always pay attention to in a RFQ particularly, or RFP or any kind of proposal out, is they always give you usually a timeline. So you can kind of know, like in this case, they issued this RFQ on September 2nd. And then you ask me how you know who your competition is. Usually almost all of them have what you call a pre-submittal or a pre-bid conference. Usually in that case, at that conference is when you know who your competition is, because in this case, it was in person. I know COVID restrictions, sometimes virtual, but even then you can find out. That's how I know. When I went to this thing, and I'll talk a little bit better about it, I knew, goodness gracious, everybody and their mama's going after this job. But I knew a lot of those people. So, and also when you do a pre-bid, usually there's a sign-in sheet. So anytime I go to a pre-bid conference, mandatory or non-mandatory, mandatory is really good because when they're mandatory, it means whoever attends that meeting, they're the only ones who could bid the job. In some cases, some stuff is non-mandatory. So that is the importance of going to these pre-bid conferences. That's how you can find out who your competition is. And so a lot of cases when there's a sign-in sheet and things like that, I like to take pictures of it. And by the time I'm even going back to the office, I'm gonna send it to the team. So they're already getting the wheels going of how we can possibly win this contract. So that's one thing to pay attention to. Pay attention to response dates and when things are due. And like you said here, there's just multiple dates. This is actually due on the 20th date. And then when it's all said and done, it will be done in March of 2023, design and construction approval. So that's one thing to pay attention to when you do the RFQ and the RFPs. Look out for that. And then this continues on submittal. Once again, tab 4, and this is what I wanted to point out, is experience. They want to see how you're qualified. Well, one of the ways, how do you know you're qualified to do the job? One of the things that they want to see the title of the project, who's the owner project representative. In other words, it's a resume. But you want to see details because they're best believe they're going to follow up and check and say, if the CDI do such and such project, did they work on it, They want to make sure you said you did what you can do. Did what you did and you can do what you do. So that's the importance of experience. And that's what we're going to talk about. Because one of the things that a lot of businesses get in trouble with, and to be very candid, is that, if the city is submitting or putting out an RFP, RFQ for a $10,000, $2 million building, and you never built a doghouse, you do not want to go and pursue that project. You have to have experience. You have to slowly build up your portfolio. And I'll talk a little bit more about that and how our firm was able to grow.
So Nate, let me interject
Yes.
a question here.
Sure.
So let's take, for instance, I may not be able to do the entire project.
Yeah.
But
Yes,
I
ma'am.
may have a scope of work.
Yes, ma'am.
Maybe bricklaying or landscaping or interior design.
Yep.
Would it not be helpful that I still attend that pre-bid conference and get my name on the list and possibly pass out my business cards?
Yep. And that's what I'm gonna hop on that. I'm gonna address in this scenario, how the thinking pattern of this and how to get at least a piece of it. And I'll talk about that. And I'm thank you for that segue because we're about to go into it. Perfect timing. The key takeaways from this RFQ and RFP. In this case, it's a health science project. The estimated price tag is $300+ million. It's a design build, it's a public-private partnership. There was over 70 plus, there was over 70 plus persons in attendance. There's 3 parts. It was RFQ, RFP negotiations. So as you know, I mentioned before, what are the key questions you ask yourself? In this scenario, where's the risk? It's a 300,000 square foot building, 300 million plus. And like I said, it's not too many people have done that type of size. We have a history of healthcare, but not a 300,000 square foot building. So in this case, we understood, hey, we might not can't do it all, but at least try to get a piece of it. And how do you do that? You do partnering. You partner. So you are partnering because you understand you have, like I said, we have history of some medical complex. We're familiar with the area. In this case, also, they are really big on local and minority contractors. So we had firms that came to us before this even was released and said, hey, we want you to be a part of it because we saw it was coming and I had some ideas, but we're part of the team. And that's the beauty. And that could be a leeway to grow your company. And like Ms. Jordan said, when it comes to landscaping or going to the pre-bid, if you're looking at that project, get with the general contractors or talk to another partner. If it's a big landscaping contract, partner with, find out who the bigger landscaper is and see if you can work together. And that's a lot of history we don't just do on this. That's but one of the things we take very personally, not personally, but when we work with other larger firms, one of our jobs is to work and help solicit smaller firms to team up with bigger firms. So both parties are getting a chance to do some of the work on multiple projects. Right now, we're doing that same concept at Citadel, Capers Hall, with one of our partners. So we have local minority businesses that usually when they got a piece of it, but now they're getting a piece of that work. So, like I said, in our staff, and like I say, everybody else, so we partner in this case. A key factor, like I said, to winning is requirement from owner's experience. Be true to yourself. Be true to your capabilities in this moment. Like I said, if there's jobs out there, really pay attention and make sure you understand the scope, you understand what's at hand, the risk. Do not take on more than you can chew. Because like I said, the qualification, this RFPs, they will tell you the truth. You must master the little projects over time as you're growing and then grow into bigger projects. You must build a portfolio. And that's what we did over time. I will go back and mention the importance of partnering and growth. When my father started CDI in 87 and he went full time in 1993, he had a few dollars in the bank and a $30,000 addition. That's it, and a whole lot of faith. But he knew he wanted to go and grow the company. He wanted to start his own business. So one of the things that we did, because I remember as a kid, is that he pressure washed. He knew he had to do pressure washing maybe to make ends meet during this time. So I remember on weekends, I would do pressure washing with him. And also, of course, you got to do marketing. This was for social media. So we would get in the white little pickup truck and we had flyers and I would help him put flyers in people's mailboxes saying, pressure washing services. However, one day my father got a call and it was a former colleague of his said, hey, Nate, we're about to go, I saw your flyer and you're doing pressure washing. He said, I know your background in construction. Well, we're going to do in construction management. And we want to be one of our partners in pursuing work in these school districts because you know how CM works. And like you said, it don't take a rocket science when you're doing pressure washing in the $30,000 addition when you chance to get a percentage of a substantial amount of potentially of a project that he said, of course, yes, I'll take it on. So by doing that, he ended up forming, CDI was able to grow and build resources. And so we took those resources and he put them back into the company. And that's how he grew the company, because we know we want to be a general contractor. They're CM agency, but in order to be a general contractor and do a certain amount, you have to have what you call a unlimited license. And at that time, to get an unlimited license, you have to have so much net worth. I think at the time it was like $200,000, $250,000 in net worth to get an unlimited license. So it all played out. It's about partnering, and also the importance of partnering when you do, because we've done projects with Holder Construction, others on $200+ million jobs. The beauty of it is, of course, it reduces risk and exposure, because there's a lot of risk, of course, in construction or any business. But the fold of that is that if you have your staff and you're partnering, your groups, your partners getting experience. So they're getting experience, they're working on these jobs, they're taking experience and bringing it back to your company and making your company stronger and better. So that's part of the things. Also, you can use it in your portfolio. I mean, we worked on a project, say we're a partner, which is true. You always give credit to the majority, but also you gain experience, and also it helps you build your portfolio, because you say, yeah, I worked on this job. I worked on this $40 million football operations building, which is true. We had guys on it that are physically responsible for doing that project. So that is,
so you can say, we helped with that. We built that.
Yep.
Although you were just a partner, and it could have been a minor partnership, but you could put that in your portfolio. So question popped up.
Yeah.
Do you have to be certified, MWBE certified, to be a partner in order to get bids?
Okay. All right. To get these jobs, I recommend to get as much certifications when it comes to that as possible. Because most of these projects, and that's one thing I've been working very closely with some of these firms and Capers and others, is helping them get their certification through DOT, because the certifications means you are who you are also legitimately, because there is some stuff out there. But the purpose of that is, you certified, there's certain requirements for certification. If you go through the process, be very candid, it means that you are a legit minority contractor, because they're going to want to see certain financials. They want to see you are who you say you are. So if CDI is really CDI, they're coming to CDI's office. They're coming to see if Nathaniel Spells Sr. is really, and Nathaniel Spells Jr. is really there. They're signing the contracts. They want to see bank financial statements, because those are the things that you need to do in business. If your books are not in order, if you're not have certain things in order, that's going to be hard for you to see in business anyway. So certification is very important, very important. Also, I'll be very candid. A lot of folks, they want to get that certification because there's tax incentives, especially for a lot of general contractors and even schools, because they have minority contractors doing work, they actually get tax incentives. I mean, I got a call the other day from one of our clients, the University of South Carolina. We do a lot of work, and they're calling me and say, hey, want to see your certification? I send them my certification letter, and they're like, they're good, because they actually get tax incentives for the work we do. So that's why certification program, because it just tells the person, they got their business in order. So yes, get your certifications, because you can't go wrong there. And once you go through the process, I mean, they're not iron fist, but you go through the process, get organized to renewal. It's one page. I mean, I renew with SUDOT. It's one page and show a few financials, and you're good. So yes, get your certifications. Yes.
And Nate, I think another piece of this question was getting at, with that unlimited certification in terms of the contracting work itself, if you're partnering and you have a smaller chunk of the work, you don't necessarily need that full scope certification, do you?
What do you mean by full scope certification?
So with the unlimited certification that you'd need to be a general contractor, if you're just going to partner.
You're just going to partner. You just do with that. Now it depends if it's a joint venture or it's a partnership, because like we were on the ballpark, that overall was a certain percentage, but in that case it was a joint venture. So we had to put up a certain portion of the bond and the risk in order to get a portion of that project. So it depends how you establish the partnership. A lot of cases when our partnership, they take on majority of the stuff when it comes to bonding and that like that, and we help get a percentage of it. It depends how you structure the deal. And also I would give heads up when you are structuring the deal, before you structure the deal, and this is one thing I'm working with also on some of these stuff. You got it. I recommend one thing to be mindful of when you're working with a majority firm, people get amnesia. People get amnesia. You shaking the hand, oh yeah, we're gonna do such and such. And then 9 months down, oh yeah, did I say you were gonna do 10%? Well, really, you're gonna do 2%. One thing that we were big on, MOUs, memorandum of understanding. Before you say, if we're gonna go in this partnership, if we get this job, you do it before you even get the job. Like when we went to this job at USC, the person we're partnering with, we already have a signed agreement of what we're gonna do if we get the job. So there's no ifs and the buts about it. Once if we do get this job and win this contract, this is what I'm responsible for. This is what I'm supposed to do. This is my percentage or whatever, and this is your percentage. So make
get
sure
it in writing.
Get in there.
Operation agreement, a MOU.
Some agreement that's
so when
legit.
you're teaming up, making the presentations, and I will tell you, we've had so many people who have come back and said, "Oh, Miss Jordan, I was on that team."
Yep.
And they never used me. I presented to the city. I presented to the Boeing. I presented to Volvo with this team, and they never used me. And so, but they got the contract, but they never called me for my portion. Well, do you have anything in writing, ma'am or sir?
Yeah, absolutely.
Come to find out, they never had it in writing. And so we can talk about operation agreements and partnership agreements in another one. And so again, doing your homework is important.
Yes, okay? Ma'am. And and because my father has a saying, if it ain't in writing, it didn't happen. So make sure it's in writing. Document, make sure it's in writing. So that's what I'm saying. Anytime we do something, we have signed contracts, and I make 20 copies of that thing because I want to make sure I don't lose it. Because people get amnesia, and I've had a couple of times had to send a little email, said, "Oh, hey, do you remember this thing you signed a while back? Here, just to refresh you. Make sure you have your stuff documented and make sure your stuff's right." So, because like I said, people get amnesia, especially when it comes to that thing called money, amnesia. So that's another thing there. So partnership, they said growing. That's a way to grow your business, get the contract. And like I said, you mentioned over there, where's the risk, and just going over that and who's your competition. Understanding that, because you got to understand who you're competing with. That's what I love. And when we do hard bids and stuff, we know when we're going after jobs, a lot of cases, and we find out who the competition is. Some jobs we know, their MO. No, these guys, they're going to lowball it. I know what they're going to do. I don't want to touch this. Or this guy, we have a history of being competitive with them. They have similar size projects, similar overhead. So, I'm not going to bid against the guy who's working out of his pickup truck. For us, because that's not going to be successful. I know I can't beat that guy. He has one secretary and works out of a truck when I have a building and more staff members. So know your competition. Once again, understanding if you're in landscaping and you're going against a guy that has 40 guys and you have one guy in a truck and a push lawnmower, and this is a landscape half the city, that's not be the case. But what I would do is go meet with them and say, "Hey, I'd like to be part of your partnership. I want to be part of it." And so, or in a case if you got 40 people, it's just understand, be real, because that's the thing. That's be very honest and be transparent. So another RFP, an example. Another example here is another one that's actually another Charleston, West Virginia, but it's just it's requests for a golf course disc area. So as you see in this RFQ, or actually RFP, table of contents is showing details, bid proposal forms, allowance. In this case, it actually you have to break out in your proposal pricing. So they want to know in this case how much is for mobilization, lump sum unit costs, total erosion control settlement. So, excuse me, in this proposal, as you see, you have to break out your pricing for this project, and the governments will submit that too. I know I just saw there was one that was submitted. I saw old RFP for something kind of similar for some landscaping that the city had, and had unit pricing in it like this. Also, one of the things you got to pay attention to in government, there are a lot of forms, because you're dealing with taxpayer dollars. And you're dealing with government money. So a lot of the things you will see A lot of forms that see, like say here, a drug-free workforce place compliance affidavit. Pay attention to those things and make sure you have a notary. Any business person should have either a notary or staff or have a cousin or Pookie or Ray or somebody you know that is a legit notarized person that you can get to, because notarization is required on a lot of these government projects. Also, in this case, it's information, once again, paying is telling you this bid on the 27th, preparation of bids, how to prepare it, where it needs to be. Pay attention to the little things, the details. So if you know the proposal is due at, in this case, 10:30 a.m., and you live an hour and a half away, you don't need to be leaving your house at 10 o'clock or your business at 10 a.m. to get there by 10:30, because you're not going to get it. Because pay attention to those times. Usually our whole mantra is any type of bid, we're always there at the minimum an hour in advance, because, and they usually will leave 2 hours in advance to get there, because you never know. Traffic, trains, always prepare, study, prepare for when you need to be there. And this goes on with all the addendas, bid surety bonds, bonding. That's one thing that's, as you continue to grow your company from a subcontractor standpoint, bonding, basically, it's a form of surety. It makes the owner whole. And that's another thing about our profession. To get bonding requires a certain amount of assets, because what you're doing, and say you're doing a $7 million job for Ms. Jordan, says, hey, CDI, you've got this $7 million project with the city of Columbus, this building. I have to submit for the bond, for the bid security, say if I submitted it during the bid for $7 million, I'm assuring the city of Charleston that my proposal of $6,892,000 is good, and I will honor it. And this bond says that this bid is good. Now, if some reason I had to come back and it's illegitimate, that something messed up, and the owner has the right to say, okay, it's $6,992,000 to get out of this. You have to pay so much percentage, 5, 10, 15% of whatever your bid amount was in order to get out the bid. And also, when you go into construction or your sub or supplying service, in some cases, a bond is needed. That bond would say, if it's a $7 million job to the city of Charleston, I am pretty much guaranteeing I'll do it for $7 million. For some reason I'm failed to, it's $6.8 million, 6.5. I mean, if it's 7.1 or 7.2, or I have to get, if I get kicked off the job, the insurance company comes in, makes the owner whole. And that's where the risk comes in, because guess what? If you don't finish the job, our bonding company is going to get the job done, but they're not going to come back and just look at Nate Sr. and Nate Jr. and go, oh, Nate, sorry that you messed up on that bid. Don't worry about it, buddy. No. What insurance company you know is in the losing money business? They're going to come and they say, we're going to recoup what we need to do. If I got to take your house, your cars, your cash, your dog to get my money, that's what they're going to do. And that's a part of the risk too. I'm understanding, if you're going to put a bid bond on, in case if you bid a job, you put a surety bond on, make sure that bid is good. Because if you mess up, there's usually a penalty to pay, and it could be hefty. So that's
And
the kind
so
of
with
stuff.
that question, Nate, we have Jennifer Hook says,
Sure.
winning a government contract takes major prep work. How do small businesses prepare to invest financially? To give some examples of the amount of money is needed to prepare to go after a contract.
Oh, well, it varies. A lot of the stuff that we do when we do RFQs and RFPs, a lot of stuff is done on a house on a printer. Due to technology, it's a little more economical if you can get with a print shop. I mean, it varies. I know what you're talking about, like the RFP, putting the binders together and things like that. Usually there's a cost if you're trying to put a proposal together. What I would recommend in a lot of cases, there's not too many, but there are some centers out there to help with small minority business, and their job is to help you in that certain scenarios. I know some of them closed down. There was the Minority Business Development Center, and I would check. I know city, usually some cases, there's resources for smaller business to help you in that endeavor. But the key behind it is, if you don't put skin in the game, that's part of doing business. And so it's budgeting, research, see how much sheet of paper. I mean, on an RFQs and RFPs, they'll tell you what the maximum usually is It could be no more than 40 pages or no more than 50 pages. So read those requirements, and so you can start getting an idea roughly what your material costs would be.
Right. So material costs typically upfront would be, like you said, preparing the binders. If they tell you they need 10 copies of your proposals,
Correct.
and it have to be by 8.5 by 11 paper, and must be expired attachment. No paper clip. If they tell you it has to be with spiral binding, those kinds of things. And then you must be able to be bondable or get a surety bond. Then you can start researching that. But to be able to begin, it just really depends on, it doesn't take a whole lot of out-of-pocket money. But you do understand that you do need to read and prepare. And just like Nate said, if it says be there at 10:30, you can show up at 10:01 with your 10 stat bonded presentations, perfectly done with pictures and color. They will reject your presentation at that point.
Yes.
Because you have to be there at 10:30. When they close the door is shut. And we've seen that happen time and time again. People showed up at 10:35 and said, I was caught by the train. So again, so as we continue to move along, I know time is of the essence. I'm sorry.
No problem. No, that's true. In this story, I mean, like I said, we have hard bids. So usually in some cases, hard bids mean you're bidding against something. I mean, you're usually not getting numbers till 10 minutes, 15 minutes. I have plenty of times when I've had to do what you call the Superman to get into that room. I've literally have dove into the room before that clock, because they'll count down. And I've seen times when guys were running and I've seen a guy literally slam a door in a guy's face and said, time, because don't be precious of that time, because it's serious. I mean, if it's 10:30, 1 second, that's it.
They shut the door. They shut the door.
And like
and so a question came up, are most RFPs digital submissions?
Okay. Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned that. Because of COVID. Yeah. Because of COVID, there's RFPs, because there's plenty that we've done, and also with our partners. Some cases, part of the RFPs, most cases, they will say they usually want 2 copies. Hard copy, they'll say, okay, we want 2 or 3 hard copy, and then they want it digitally. So be mindful of that too, because sometimes you got to get signatures and stuff signed off by stuff. Make sure you have enough time to do your RFPs physically, and you might have to scan them in and put them on a flash drive. Some cases, some people want it in person, or you email it, and please, by the good gracious, because if it's too big, most cases they do upload. But what I always like to do, get enough time, get a confirmation, get a stamp. If you're going to email it, click send receive. So they came back and said, we didn't receive it. Well, oh, no. I've got an email here, says that it goes to you. You received it at 2:28 when it was due at 2:45 or 3 o'clock, and you read it. So in a lot of cases, sometimes they'll do submittal, but most cases you do have to physically turn in. But also there's digital times too, and pay attention to that, because it will be usually fall under the preparation of bid. That's usually and they'll say directions or instructions of bidders. That tells specifically what they want to see, how it's delivered. In some cases, like I said, digitally, yes, there's plenty of bids that, I'm sitting there at 10:50, 11:57, hitting click button to send a proposal. So yes, that's seeing more and more of that. And usually it's to a secure location. So you want to give yourself ample time, because sometimes internet goes down or something. If something happens, you want to give yourself plenty of time to get that bid in. At least give yourself a 10-minute window for that kind of stuff.
And you can submit it prior the day before.
Oh, yeah.
You can submit it hours before. When you get it completed, you can submit it and get a confirmation that you've gotten it back.
One of the things also that's big, and this is the thing that we see a lot too, these proposals, if you could get there, I would prefer, if I had to wait, physically be there if you require, because a lot of people like to send through UPS sometimes or FedEx. And I've seen some people who were the low bidder, and somehow their proposal got there after time. So you put all that work in, it didn't get there, all that they promised, but somehow the FedEx truck that had your proposal broke down. I've seen that happen. So if you're really serious about it, I recommend, if it's in Atlanta or whatever, make sure you turn it in person, because that registry, I've seen plenty of people lose projects because they trusted FedEx or the post office, especially the way it's running right now. I wouldn't trust it anyway. I would make sure you get that in person. So be mindful of that.
Someone asked a question, how
Sure.
often do you win a government contract if you don't have past experience and you're just getting started?
Okay. Well, in those cases, yeah, it's kind of hard. Like I said, you got to build up. But one of the things that can help in the avenue, one of the avenues is 8A. 8A. Are you familiar? If most people are familiar with 8A government, I would go, and now you got to go through SAMS. It used to be FBO, because SAMS is now where you find out all the government projects. It's online. Everything's done online, and you can go through there, fill out your qualifications. It'll tell you what jobs are out there. So the importance of 8A, or finding out, is 8A basically is a program it's what usually 8-year program. Used to be 8 years or 9 years, 9 years. We were a product of 8A. You graduate out of it. But the purpose of that is they give you jobs at first, but they're trying to teach you how to work with the government. Now, some people take advantage of it and, they don't do it properly sometimes because you're getting money and stuff. And then when you try to go out by yourself and bid against other guys, then sometimes you're not as successful. But I would try to find programs like 8A. Also thinking outside the box, there's usually projects like in ski boat that are under a certain threshold. They can do negotiations with a lot of your local agencies. If it's like 10,000, I don't know if city has that special. If it's 10 or 20,000, start on those. Start on those little small projects. Get good at those. And then Ms. Jordan is like, okay, you're doing a 20,000. Okay, Nate, HVAC is knocking it out. Well, here's another 20,000. Here's another 20,000. Next thing you know, you've got multiple contracts. It could be 100,000. Then you're building up your portfolio. You're building up your confidence. So,
and we call that the low-hanging fruit. Go after the low-hanging fruit.
Yeah.
Don't cut your teeth thinking on a $10 million project when you haven't done $1 million project or $100,000 project. Start with a low-hanging fruit. And so when you do those low-hanging fruits and people see the work, then you graduate, and then you'll build up that trust with those contract and project managers and contracting officers. So start with low-hanging fruit. If you got to start somewhere. This company, CDI, didn't start on these $300 million projects. Right out the bat. You heard earlier the story. They started. They had to work in between. Putting in all the extra. So it all starts with go with the low-hanging fruit based on your capacity, and then begin to grow. And so next time, I know we got a lot. This is so good, and our time is ticking away.
No. I mean, I'm almost. I mean, let's get towards the end. It's just you were saying, like I said, we started a company because build your portfolio. And one thing that I would recommend, and sometimes I'll be very candid with some minorities, be very conscious, or we built our portfolio low key, because sometimes when you try to put your stuff out there too quickly or too fast, people will try to undermine you, because jealousy is real. Let's be real. And like I said, there's haters out there. There's haterade. People hate, well, how are you doing that? So we went, like I said, from a $30,000 edition. And I remember we ended up doing like a 1,000 square foot edition on a church. I remember that hot summer. Like I said, good, low-key, free labor or low-key labor from CDI, but I'll leave that alone. I'm kidding, Dad, but I'm just saying. Out there working, doing the stuff, but building up, just doing, and then you went from there, and then you end up doing addition to a church or a life center. So then all of a sudden people go, well, what have you done? Well, have you been to Brooklyn Baptist? Or have you been to Roy Missionary Baptist Church? Have you been to Benedict College? And people are like, oh, you did that? I didn't know. But because you have proof. We are believers basically of something that's attainable. We have to see it, smell it. That's what I'm saying. It's interesting. Like when we build churches, It's no coincidence that when you start seeing metal going up or erection going up in the church, the giving goes up because now they can see the vision. So when you have stuff that people can attain and physically see or been part of, it helps your credibility, one. And like I said, it helps your experience. So as you're building, so like I said, low hanging fruit, everybody start, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. And there's another thing I can tell you, one thing that my dad has beat into me and other guys in our company. He said a long time ago when I was a young kid, he said, son, we're in business to make money. If you're in business to make money, what's the point of being in business? Don't chase the dollars. Become great at what you do. If you become great at what you do, the dollars will chase you.
Mhm. And again, that is so true. And so again, whether it's requests for proposals,
Correct.
or requests for qualifications, whether it is requests for a bid,
Yep.
sealed bids,
Yep.
no matter whether it is a $10,000 job or $100 million job, the process is still the same. Whether
Exactly.
it is construction, whether it is professional services,
Correct.
whether it's for goods and supplies, it's about preparation, reading, and it can be daunting, those 100
Yes.
pages.
Yeah.
When you look at the boilerplate, it is overwhelming, but just pay attention to the scope of work.
Yes.
We start there with the scope of work first. And so again, it doesn't matter how big or how small. When you learn it, and the way of basketball, it don't matter who you play. If you know how to do a layup and do it well, it don't matter whether you're in a big arena or a small arena. You're gonna make that layup or that free throw every single time because you have developed the art of making that shot.
Yep.
And so that's what you need to do. You just need to get prepared and understand that. And so, Dad, we want you to say one or two things, and then we're going to round up with giving them a list of things that the city's looking for.
Okay, well, I enjoyed listening to the presentation. You and Nathan did a great job. One of the keys to getting the contract, of course, is your ability to estimate. Okay, estimating is critically important that you understand the scope of work in order to prepare the estimate. You solicit, get whatever bids you need for the project. That's the first starting point. You don't want to get the contract in under bid. So estimating is very, very important. The RFQ Rfp presentation that Nathan gave, again, was for a $300,000 job. But as Ms. Jordan said, no matter the size of the job, a lot of the fundamentals are still the same. There are 10,000, 100,000, $500,000 projects out there as well. And the larger projects offer opportunities for second tier and third tier subcontract opportunities. As was said, if you're a mason on a job, you may not be able to handle the entire mason job, but you can submit a quote to the first tier masonry sub, the firm who's capable of doing the large project. And finally, whatever you take on, you want to succeed. Okay, you want to deliver the goods, so to speak. Whatever you commit to, you need to follow through and do a great job. And that great job results in repeated work. Okay.
Exactly. And so for those who are interested in doing work with the city of Charleston, we have our list of open capital projects. We have a Stonyfield improvement there, as well as the Ashley River crossing. We're building a walking bridge. We're looking for professional services there. We're also doing some improvements on the Hughes streetscape improvements along with professional services. And all you need to do is just go to the City of Charleston's bid line, www.charleston-sc.gov, and go to bid line, and you'll see that. And not only we got the capital projects, but then we also have a second group called open procurement bids. We're looking for realtor services. We're looking for supplies. We're looking at an affordable housing development. We're looking for qualifications for 6 nighttime ped cab decals, along with realtor services, and as well as renovations on a fire station. And all of these opportunities are available on the City of Charleston's website under our bid line. If you are not registered with Bidline, go register so that they will automatically send you these opportunities. Our upcoming workshops will continue on next Wednesday, September 29th. You got the contract, now what? And so now if you just happen to get one of these contracts or happen to get an offer to be able to perform, then now you need to know where do I go from there? And there was a question that came up. What if I don't have all the employees? What if I don't have all the staff? What if I don't have all the equipment? But I was lucky enough to get the contract. Next Wednesday, you're gonna learn you got the contract, now what? At 6 o'clock on next Wednesday. And then on October 13th, I got the contract. Now I need the money. So are you ready to borrow? On Wednesday, October the 13th, it's going to be a lunch and learn. And we are continuing to provide these free business webinars. I hope that you have enjoyed these webinars. In case you need to give us a call, our contact information is listed here on the screen. So again, I'm Ruth Jordan, the City of Charleston's office manager for the NWBE Enterprise. And my number is there, 843-724-7434. And again, I want to say to Nate Spells Jr. and Sr., thank you for a job well done. Real talk, real information, real life experience, how they've grown their company from a $30,000 company to a multi-million-dollar company. So if anybody got anything to tell you, listen to the Spells, Jr. and Sr. So again, thank you. And again, thank all of our participants, those who have stuck in here with us. And we're going to do the final one next Wednesday night at 6 o'clock. So see you then, same time, same location. Thank you and good night.
Good night.
Thank you.